This is Algebra 2, test number 2 through section 1.4. This is part 2. We pick it up and we're going to finish the study guide up on number 23. 23 says evaluate y equals x plus 2 times x minus 5 when x's value is 6. So the first thing you need to do is in place of both of the x's, you need to plug in 6. So that's the first thing we did. Y equals 6 plus 2 times 6 minus 5. That's substituting in a given value. After that, we're going to do what's inside parentheses. 6 plus 2 is 8, and 6 minus 5 is 1. And again, order of operations tells us to do what's inside parentheses first. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply 8 times 1 because two things next to each other. Parentheses showing two things next to each other. 8 times 1 is 8. Y's value is 8. Multiplying because of order of operations. Number 24, 5, and 6, we're going to name the property that's associated with these things. Negative 2 times x plus 11 equals negative 2x minus 22. Most people can see it this way. You multiply negative 2 times x and you get negative 2x, and negative 2 times 11 you get negative 22. That's the distributive property. If you're looking at number 25, notice pi times 6 is equal to 6 times pi. All it did was moved or commuted, so that's the commutative property, and it's of multiplication. And then number 26 says negative 2.5 plus 0. Look at what it is when it starts and what it is when it finishes. If it's the same, then its identity didn't change, and that's why it's the identity property. It's addition, so it's of addition. 27 through 30, we're evaluating these problems. We have values for A and B. So 5A plus 5B, A's value is negative 6, B's value is negative 6, and B's value is negative 5. I have to go back and change this real quick. Okay, back to number 27. If you look through the steps again, first thing you want to do is substitute in negative 6 in place of A and negative 5 in place of B. Make sure you put the correct numbers in, not like what I just did. Substitute them in, given values. Then you multiply. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. That's order of operations tells you to multiply. And then we add a negative and a negative together. We get negative 55. Adding because of the order of operations says to add. 28, we're solving. We're simplifying it when h's value is negative 2. So in place of both of the h's, we have two values that are h's, here and here. We're going to plug in negative 2. So the first thing we're going to do is plug in or substitute given values. The next thing we're going to do is what's inside parentheses, or what's inside the innermost grouping symbols, shows that we need to multiply. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And negative 6 minus 6 is going to be multiplied outside times 4 over 1 minus 2. That's multiplying because of your order of operations. Next step shows negative 6, what's inside parentheses, minus 6 is negative 12. So 4 times negative 12 over 1 minus 2, that's inside parentheses again. Then on top of your fraction, 4 times negative 12 is negative 48 over 1 minus 2. That's multiplying. Then take care of what's at the bottom of the fraction. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. That's just subtraction. And then the last step, negative 48 divided by negative 1. Negative divided by negative is a positive 48. That's just dividing at the last step because of order of operations. 29, we're plugging in negative 3. Don't forget that there's a negative in front at first. Biggest common most mistake. In place of x, you're plugging in negative 3. So negative 3 squared minus 4 times negative 3 minus 4. Again, substituting in given values. On the next step, we're just going to evaluate the exponent. Negative 3 times negative 3, or when we square it, becomes positive 9. Just finish the rest of it out. The next step is to multiply negative 1 times 9 and get negative 9. And to multiply negative 4 times negative 3. Negative times negative is positive 12. Minus 4 again because of order of operations. Then do negative 9 plus 12, and you get positive 3 minus 4. That's adding order of operations. And then 3 minus 4 is negative 1. That's just subtracting to finish your order of operations. And then the last one, we have to plug in x in 3 different spots. X's value is negative 3. So we're substituting it in given values. Negative 2 times negative 3 to the third minus a negative 3 squared plus 5 times negative 3 plus 2. The next thing you do is you evaluate the exponents. Negative 3 to the third power, negative times a negative is a positive, times one more negative is another negative, becomes negative 27. Negative 3 squared becomes positive 9. That's evaluating the exponents. The next step, we're going to multiply those numbers. Negative 2 times negative 27 is a positive 54. Negative 1 times 9 is negative 9. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. and then plus 2. That's multiplying because of your order of operations. Then watch, we just combine everything at the end, combining like terms, putting addition and subtraction together to get a positive 32.